Hi, I'm Sullivan.
Hi, I'm Finnegan.
And we're talking about Friday the 13th, Part 7. What'd you think of 7? I'm really sad right now.
Why?
It was not good.
It wasn't great.
No.
I think the premise is so bad for a Friday the 13th film.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit at all. Like, it just doesn't.
I think this movie is, like, officially into, like, schlock territory.
Sure.
Where it's just like, we'll do whatever.
It's the gimmick.
Yeah.
Part 6 doesn't have a gimmick. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
It's an action comedy with some slasher elements.
Well, we should talk about our lead character.
Yeah.
She has telekinesis. And she kills her father as a child. And then the whole movie happens.
Yeah.
And then we get to the best part.
Well, they do the fake out kill Jason like 10 times.
Right.
Where they think they killed him and then, oh, he's back. Oh, he's back. Oh, he's back. And then finally he's on a dock.
Well, we have to set this up. They exploded a home.
That's true.
An entire home
which was
obliterated
in and of itself.
And then Jason is just there.
Let's get out of here.
Not by the house. We don't see him like. It would have been a cool shot.
If
kind
he
of like the
walks out.
If he walks out of the flames.
Yeah.
He
And
knocks
then he knocks
Nick
Nick
on
the ground,
We'll
which we love Nick.
We
love him.
We love Nick. It's true. We love Nick.
And then girl summons father, who has been dead for like 20 years. Like, she was a little girl, and he's still like perfect.
She uses her telekinesis.
Flesh and he comes up and grabs Jason. Right?
That's how they beat Jason.
That's how they beat Jason.
She gets her alcoholic, abusive father who's been dead
he's
for 20
alcoholic
years
and abusive.
to come back to life through telekinesis, emerging from the lake to bring Jason into the lake and keep him there?
I actually really liked the look of this Jason.
Yeah, when they knocked his mask off, he looks neat. Before then, he looks neat. He's got the spine.
I like the spine a lot.
Yeah. We've got our characters.
We do?
There
are
Kevin Bacon,
so many.
Kevin Bacon, who's kind of more Chad-like. He's not quite the jock.
Yeah.
But he's there. Nice girl
Mm-hmm.
who does makeup to try to look nice for the funny guy. But then she dies. Funny guy.
But he's not really funny.
He's barely funny, but he's
kind
a little
of like he's more like
they don't
stoner
give him jokes, but he's
than funny.
But his role is to be the funnier one of the guys that are there.
I suppose.
Nerd guy is nice guy.
Yeah.
He's Crispin Glover
guy.
basically.
Yeah.
Again, and they failed.
Just worse.
Yeah, way worse. Unrealistically nerdy.
I've been rejected by some of the finest science fiction magazines in the continental United States.
Eddie, where are you going?
To take a cold shower.
But he's lame. I don't care about him. I don't care about anybody. All the characters suck. This is the worst. like, of all 7, this one has the worst characters.
I will say, something that I actually really enjoyed about this movie is the doctor guy.
There's some interesting plot stuff.
Yes.
The villain of the movie isn't really Jason.
It's not really I mean, it is towards the end, but, like, this evil doctor guy who is, like, pretending to care about this girl, and he's kind of has his own sick, twisted idea of what he wants to do. He wants to just, like, have her act out on purpose so that he can be, like, famous or something. It's not, like, totally
His
clear.
motives are completely muddy.
But I would assume he wants to, like, publish his crazy findings, become famous or whatever.
Yeah, because this girl is telekinesis.
And they kind of, that doctor guy and the mother of the telekinesis girl, they kind of have a clash throughout the whole movie.
I have been trying to help her.
What's this? Is this what Tina's talking about? Have you been hiding this all this time?
They kind of clash throughout the whole movie, and towards the end, when they sort of, like, find all the bodies and stuff, they're in the woods, and there's actually this encounter with Jason where he has, like, a scythe or some really razor-sharp blade.
Yeah, and then he well, you can tell it.
Will do. The doctor uses the woman as, like, a human shield, and you're like, God damn, you really learn to hate this guy.
What are you doing? Oh my gosh. No!
And then he gets the lamest death in the whole movie. It shows nothing. Like, I can't even name the most entertaining kill. Like, all of them were bad.
The
Sleeping Bag
is
is
in this
fine,
one,
but it's like,
yeah.
I mean, just one hit, it's so, like, ugh. And I know they had more than one hit when they filmed it, but, I don't know, it just feels lame. I like everything that leads up to the, like, him, like, dragging her while she's moving in the sleeping bag. I love that. But just, like, picking him up and throwing against the tree once, it's like,
yeah.
Doesn't do it for me.
The editing, in a wider sense, is really bad.
It's bad.
There's weird cuts and strange...
Everything is just
like,
so quick.
Like, there's this great setup for a punchline when our final girl gets invited. It's kind of like part 4, where there's, like, a family, and then across the street is, like, a partying teenager thing. And she gets invited to go hang out with the people who are, like, partying by this guy, Nick. He's great. We'll have to talk about him specifically at some point. But she gets invited over there. She meets the nerd guy first, and he's like, here's my pitch for a sci-fi movie. And she's like, whoa, you're weird. And then Nick is like, yeah, he's weird, but I promise you, everyone else is weird. And then they, like, turn, and there's a guy smoking, and it's literally like, there's a,
I'll be the guy.
It's weird. But cut. Like,
That's
like
it.
That was longer than it actually was. We should just show it.
Good, huh? Only one human being and his woman still exist amongst the stars.
I see you met our resident writer, Eddie.
Yeah. Ice cream and cake, huh?
Eddie's a little out there, Tina, but believe me, everybody else here, perfectly normal.
Let's talk about Nick. So Nick is the Paul of this film. Back in our favorite Friday film, Friday Part 2, Paul was the second Joaquin Phoenix. Super likable guy.
Great.
One of the best characters in the whole movie, if not for Yizbos and the wheelchair kid. But he was still pretty great. This movie has a guy who I will put on the level of Paul.
Great.
Nick. The whole movie we were like, Nick,
such a sweet
he's
guy.
a nice guy. He's kind of cool.
He's a badass.
Yeah, kind of.
Sort of.
Not as much as, like, Paul tackled Jason to the ground.
I mean, you can't beat that.
You can't beat Paul.
That's crazy.
But still, with these movies, it gets pretty formulaic.
Yes.
Where it's like, everybody's gonna die except the final girl and maybe one other person. And then you're like, is Nick gonna survive?
We were on the edge of our seats.
That was really what
really
was
were.
We were more scared for Nick
There's
than
a
the main
moment where
character of the film.
Jason's, like, over Nick, like, cracking his spine, and you're like, oh my god, Nick's gonna fucking die. And then she uses her telekinetic powers. And then he's fine. And then they're out, after the house explodes, they're out on the dock, and then he gets tossed to the side. We're like, ooh, Nick suffered from a bruise that could develop into some
death.
Yeah.
She gets knocked out, and she wakes up and she's like, "Where's Nick? Where's Nick?" And we were like, "Oh no, where's
We're
Nick?"
not gonna know what happened to Nick, and this is something really unique to this film, which I really liked. She goes in the ambulance, and guess who's in the ambulance with her? Nick.
Jason. Where's Jason?
We took care of him.
Let's talk about Jason.
Let's talk about Jason. In all these movies, we've been kind of chronicling the evolution of Jason and how he moves and acts. In this one, he's got the zombie thing. He's got spine showing and all that stuff. He's very cool looking.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not going to be running around.
He walks.
I just have to accept that at this point. He's got one moment where he like parkour leaps through a wall,
through a window,
or through a window, yeah, and he's just like, it felt very like part 2, 3-ish.
It was like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah, but then he just walks around. This one was the first one where I really started to feel the trope that people talk about, where Jason, like in the earlier movies, in the earlier movies, there's a real good sense of geography where like Jason's here and then he's following you.
It's believable that he could catch up with.
Yes, he's slow. He's not that scary sometimes because there's a lot of shots, and this is editing I think too, where he just pops around the corner and he's like, boo, and you're like, oh no, Jason.
Oh yeah.
And also it doesn't help that you don't care about any of these characters except for Nick, and so you're just like, okay, they're gonna die. Would you recommend Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood?
Ooh. I actually think I would. I think this is the best Halloween party movie of the Friday the 13th movies that we've seen. Like, just pure schlock, fun, ha ha ha, you know? Would you recommend Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood?
I think I'd recommend you watch this. If you haven't watched the other ones leading up to this, don't bother.
Okay.
I mean, we're in the last leg now. This whole episode is the last leg where it gets really gimmicky. You just watch these if you want to watch all the Friday movies or you're like trying to have a fun time.
Right.
Let's go watch Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
That's a fantastic idea.
It's like this. We live in claustrophobia. A land of steel and concrete. Trapped by dark waters. There is no escape. Nor do we want it. We've come to thrive on it. And each other. You can't get the adrenaline pumping without the terror, good people. I love this town.
Well, Finn, we just got back from watching Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yes, we did.
What'd you think? I thought it was pretty good. So did I. I don't know if it was... I mean, obviously the new setting was very refreshing, and that helped a lot. But I also think that there are, like, some really good elements in this movie. Jason's great again.
For the first time since Part 3, Jason is a little more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. He's not as vulnerable as Part 3. He gets knocked around. Yeah. He stumbles. He's not completely vulnerable. Like, we're not getting Part 2, like, he's scared of the chainsaw that's coming at him.
But at the end of the movie...
basically, like, for people who like late-stage Kane Hodder era Jason, where he's invincible and awesome, you get a lot of that. But where he walks into rooms and people try to get him and he just bumps past them or throws them aside.
Or teleports.
Teleports. That has become a problem.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
This is the first movie where Jason just straight up
just
like they're not even hiding it. The scene where the girl runs into the disco room and she looks and Jason's there, and then she looks and Jason's there.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
And when the rock girl goes down the ladder, which is like the only way down to the next level, and Jason's is on the next level. Yeah. Stuff like that. But you also get scenes like the end when she throws toxic waste all over his head and he's like screaming in agonizing pain and he's like, ah, and then he's slumping down the hallway,
slamming into walls because he can barely keep himself up.
That stuff I really liked.
Yeah, and this is the first time narratively they've kind of connected the hero with Jason's origin story in a really interesting way.
I would say the concept was interesting.
Yes.
The execution was horrific. That is probably... I mean, that's really the only bad part of the movie, in my opinion.
Let's talk about the timeline really quickly, just a small interjection.
Yes.
So we established in part 7 a real timeline where... probably a year after part 6, somewhere in there, if not more, this family either started a family at Camp Crystal Lake or moved their family to Camp Crystal Lake recently, whatever. This little girl lives there while Jason, full size, is underwater after the events of part 6.
This is part 7 that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yes. And then she grew up, got to be around 20, and Jason got out of the water. And now this girl, in a movie that takes place definitely because Jason is crushed under the boards at the beginning of the movie, like he was at the end of part 7. This movie takes place after the events of part 7, but when this teenage girl, was probably 17, 18, was a child, Jason was a little boy, which he hasn't been for 30 years.
Right.
There's a lot of weird imagery in this movie that I think is intended to be metaphorical. Like when Jason is teleporting around the disco room, the girl is disoriented. I think that's what it's supposed to convey.
Yeah.
They don't do a great job of that.
No.
The end of the movie, Jason gets washed in by toxic waste, and then the toxic waste goes away to reveal baby Jason.
I think it's supposed to be his inner innocence
has been revealed
through
the toxic waste in New York City. It doesn't the metaphor is completely lost.
Yeah. Let's talk about things we liked. You talked about a little bit about metaphorical imagery and stuff, but let's talk about
the cinematography.
The cinematography.
It's very well shot.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And this movie really feels like it has a budget and it has a voice behind it. The writer was the director. The director was the writer. Feels like he wanted to tell this story, this very strange story.
Fun fact, feature film debut. Straight out of college, he made Friday the 13th Part 8.
Okay. Pretty good. We get the greatest Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Fantastic.
For the first time, arguably. Maybe 2. Maybe Part 2 maybe Kevin Bacon was better than Kevin Bacon. But this is the first time, pretty much, that Kevin Bacon has been easily topped.
His name is Julius. Julius is epic.
He's a Chad.
He's a really cool guy.
He's so awesome.
I like him.
He boxes Jason in one of the best scenes in Friday the 13th history.
Very good.
No music.
That's what I love about it. It's like...
They set up early in the movie that he's a boxer. He does this boxing ring on the boat for some reason. It doesn't matter. But then at the end of the movie...
He's fighting him.
He's on the rooftop, and Jason finds him on the rooftop, and he decides he's gonna box Jason.
He just starts to beat the living shit out of him. and it keeps going. It's like a long scene.
It's really
I think
long,
I'm gonna
and
play it
there's
in
no
full
music.
just because it is kind of like amazing.
It's pretty
but
awesome.
You're just like, and he starts to bleed out of his hands, like, just hit me with your best shot, man.
Your best shot. Motherfucker.
A good kill.
We should talk about the kills.
Pretty good.
Great.
After part 7, we were like, oh no, they're really gonna start censoring it. It's gonna be really bad.
This stuff
movie,
is
it's
censored,
but they
the
kind of
kills
shoot
are
around
cool.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. And the premises are really
Yeah, the concepts for the kills are awesome.
and they still feel delivered. It's not like the Weed Whacker from part 7,
No.
where it's like the Weed Whacker sounds like a cool kill, but
You failed
it's
miserably
terrible, and
at executing it.
a lot
Yeah.
of the kills in this movie are still executed well, even if the gore isn't
Right.
huge.
Like just a lot of simple kind of what Jason is known for, like blunt kind of kills, just
Sure.
like strangling, and I one that's more creative is the one where the guy's in the sauna. That one always sticks in my brain.
Yeah,
That's a great kill.
Like a really
Like
hot
a
rock
burning
from the
rock
sun.
and sticks in his stomach.
The
yeah.
one that came to my mind was when he when he took there's a kid who like films, he's like the nice guy.
That's right.
And he takes him and throws him into like some electrical stuff.
Yeah.
And it lights on fire.
Lights on fire,
and
which
the kid-
affects the whole story.
which
really.
impacts the rest of
Yeah.
the plot. That's a pretty good one. And then you have really simple ones where it's like even off-screen deaths, like the guy, the deckhand who's Ralph. We get a new Ralph, which hasn't been a thing since Ralph.
Love it.
And he
All
comes
for
back.
it.
Well, it's not Ralph, but he comes.
No.
He's like, "There's a death curse on the boat," and then and then he walks out with a knife, and you're like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then he falls over, and there's an axe in his back.
Great.
And you're like, holy
Great
shit, he's dead.
/ on-screen kill.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And there's a lot of really good stuff like that. And then there were some bad ones, like the guy in the sewers who got a wrench in his head.
That one had some potential, though.
Yeah.
All they needed to do was have him
Was
just
not show
drag him off screen, hear the screams, she goes over to the guy, they start running, he comes out from the side in like a long shot, maybe extreme long shot, starts slowly walking down the hallway.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Little musical sting when he walks out. Dun dun.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
The fact that they managed to accomplish the feeling of being completely helpless in a city with millions of people.
No one will.
So
Well, that's the
cool.
great thing about these the subway sequence. Because when you are on a subway in New York and there's someone like, there's a crazy man killing, you think that person is crazy. And no one tries to help them. And it's like, that's exactly what would happen.
Yes.
No one would try to help them.
And Jason Voorhees is just, like, pushing past people on the subway.
Yeah.
And you're like... And people are like, yeah, that guy looks like somebody who would be in Manhattan.
Exactly.
You have the same kind of tropey characters. You have the slut girl and the nice guy with the camera and the jock guy, but all of them are done so well.
Yes,
is the thing. Like all of them are given stronger moments of like character establishment, even if they don't have.
Everyone's
arcs.
so fleshed out.
Yeah.
Like you feel like they are people.
Yeah,
you know.
And this is the first time ever that Kevin Bacon has been given an arc. And like big moments. Like, he helps row the boat back from the ocean to New York, and he's like, Sean, you know, it's cool, man. Like, I made it. You can make it. Because Jason throws Julius into the ocean off the side of the boat, and you think he's dead, and then he comes back. And it's pretty great.
Yeah. Speaking of the boat and New York, a lot of people have a problem with this movie because of how little of New York there is. While watching it, I mean, the boat stuff is a big part of the movie.
Oh, sure.
But as soon as you're in New York, you feel like you've been in that setting for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like they were pretty equally
The transition is seamless. I would say the third act takes place in New York, but the third act is pretty sizable.
Yes.
Once you're narrowed down to that set of awesome characters, you got the dick dad guy, final girl, Sean... The mom who disappears from the... I didn't see her die.
I have no idea. She may have died, but I'm not positive.
The fact that we both missed it is very strange.
I don't know.
And Julius.
Yes.
And you've got this tiny squad of, like, really interesting characters.
Well, it's kind of a brilliant idea to get rid of all of your kind of throwaway trope characters.
It's like part 2.
On the boat, and then have all your great, memorable, this is epic, in, like... you know, the greatest city in the world. Like, I was invested in what was happening.
Rooting for the characters.
Like, I really loved these characters. And the final girl, she's not even anything special.
No, she's the least interesting one.
But still, it's like,
she and the mom.
You know... Look, it's Julius. Julius is the greatest fucking character
a lot,
ever.
And Sean. I like Sean quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think the final girl is given a lot of, backstory and some interesting things, and she's a fine final girl. Mm-hmm. I said during the movie, these writers need to learn that the final girl doesn't have to be a girl. It can be the most interesting character in the movie.
Yeah.
I admit it. Crispin Glover... I don't think on the page was written to be as interesting as he ended up being.
Well, we were talking about this. The actors kind of determine the success of the role.
But really. I think Julius could have always been a really interesting character, or at least Sean.
Have you decided on a plan of departure, Captain?
How about we start up the engines and come around 180 degrees?
You forgetting something, mister? Send out the International Maritime Signal, followed by a security broadcast warning other ships that we are underway.
We have Sean.
Who's a nice guy.
He's a really nice guy.
He has good
He's the son of a boat captain.
Right.
The captain of
He has kind of a character arc.
Of course, he becomes a boat captain.
He becomes a boat captain on the lifeboat. He proves himself to his dead father.
Yeah. Once again, like Paul and like Nick, we have a final girl's boyfriend who survives the movie and is far more interesting than the final girl.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Yo, wake up. Oh, shit. Check it out. Damn, we're in New York. You did it, man. You did it. We are in New York. New York City. Yeah. I don't believe it. We made it. If I can make it there, I'll make it. Boom, boom. Anywhere, it's up to you. New York, New York.
Sean, on the page, works. The actor isn't even that good. But on the page, that character is great.
Yeah.
And he should have been more of the protagonist guy.
I completely agree.
But I do like that they related the protagonist's history to Jason's history.
Yes.
It just didn't always
I admire
gel.
what they tried to do.
Yeah. It's a really interesting example. Finding out that it's a first-time filmmaker, it's a really interesting example of like a first-time filmmaker injecting some kind of weird new life
into
and
this
artistry
big franchise.
into a big franchise.
Yeah.
I think it's so awesome.
That is what a filmmaker is, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
and you know, a filmmaker doesn't have to make his own shitty like art stuff. He can make Friday the 13th.
They can be
Part
handed
8.
a big franchise and put their own little twist on it.
Yes. And this is the first time since Part 2 that they've taken the formula and done something really interesting with it.
Yeah.
One of the best.
One of the best. Can't believe I'm saying that.
Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is one of the best Friday the 13th movies.
Yes.
I guess the competition's not that strong.
No. After 2 and 3, it's like, we'll take anything.
Yeah. You know, it's just gone downhill, downhill, downhill. And then Part 8.
Oh! And then we're gonna go, oh. Unless Jason X is good.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Or maybe, you know, like you watched all these movies a while ago.
Yes.
And in rewatching them, your opinions have changed.
They have changed.
Maybe Part 9 will be great.
Who knows?
It won't.
It won't.
It will not.
Speaking of Part 9, let's go watch it!
Nights like tonight where we wonder why we do any of this at all. This is terrible. Tonight was terrible.
Got nothing to say.
So we took a couple days off after watching Part 8. And then we revisited Best of the Worst Classic. I almost forgot the title. Jason Goes to Hell. The Final Friday.
Vic, where's the baby?
She's fine.
Where's the baby?
She's in the back.
What's wrong?
Whoa! Hold it right there. Don't move a fucking muscle, either of you.
Joey, I just want to...
Shut up! You're with him. Nobody's gonna touch that fucking ray of sunshine.
The 9th Friday the 13th film. The point at which I'm pretty sure we haven't watched 10 yet. But I think this is the point where things completely fell apart.
Yeah.
After a valiant effort by Rob Hedden, who I looked up his name because we didn't actually mention him by name in our Part 8 review. But Rob Hedden, writer and director of Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, tried to do something really clever and visually inventive and cool. And then New Line Cinema got the rights to the Friday the 13th franchise and drove it into the ground in one movie.
It's really sad. It's not time for jokes. It's just like you need to take a moment of silence for like the downfall of this franchise.
Yeah.
It like actually made me like feel like upset.
It's like watching
I feel like betrayed.
Yeah. It's like watching like the Titanic hit the iceberg.
Yeah.
It's like it's not sunken yet, technically.
But
But shit's going down.
Yeah.
It's not coming back. For purposes of this, I mean, this isn't the last Friday we're going to watch Jason X, and that'll be the last one, which I don't think was even intended as a finale. You've got your characters. Let's name them off. We got Steven and Jessica. And Jessica has a baby, and the baby is Steven's. And now Jessica is dating the host of a news show. Are you laughing at what I'm thinking of? Let's talk about it.
The only funny part.
I think there are two good things in the whole movie. It's this line, and then, well, there are two funny lines.
Shut the fuck up.
This one, and then when Steven goes, "No, stop! Shut the fuck up!" at Jessica.
Are you out of your mind? Calm down! Just shut the fuck up!
Yeah.
Which is less funny, but it's still funny. But the funniest line in the whole movie is when Jessica's new boyfriend, the host of this TV show, he walks into a room at the Voorhees house, and Steven, our lead character, is in the closet or something, and the boyfriend guy is on the phone, and he goes, "Reggie," and he's like talking like that, like "Yo," like that guy, and then
like very Chris Hansen.
Yeah, and then he goes, I stole the body from the morgue, and then I hid it in the closet, and then I went home and fucked her daughter. It was so fucking out of nowhere. I assume you will cut out my entire explanation of what he said and just show.
Well, last night, I stole Diana's body, and I hid it here in the closet. And then I went home and fucked her daughter.
So the premise of the movie, let's talk about it, because the premises have become a thing in this episode especially, where you had the premise of the girl with the telekinesis, and then the premise of Jason takes Manhattan, and Jason on a boat. Premise of this one is, it's a very misleading title, because at no point does Jason go to hell. Or at least we never see him in hell. I guess at the end of the movie they send him to hell. But Jason, in the first few minutes of the movie, gets exploded. And then they take his corpse back to the coroner. And the coroner decides to eat Jason's heart. He is Jason, but he's not fully Jason, because, as we discover from the bounty hunter who is trying to kill Jason, he says that there's a prophecy, but it's like, kill a Voorhees, he lives in a new Voorhees, but the only kill something.
In a Voorhees was he born, through a Voorhees may he be reborn. And only by the hands of a Voorhees will he die. Jason had a sister, your girlfriend's mother, Diana.
Basically, Jason's only way of coming back as Jason is to not insert himself. So there's a baby, and the only way for Jason to come back is to take over the body of a Voorhees. And we have mom, Jessica, baby. And the mom gets killed. Jason, why does Jason kill her?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I guess he can come back. I guess he. But anyway, he kills her, and then instead of going after that body, he goes after Jessica.
I have no clue.
And then the bounty hunter tells Steven how to kill Jason. And so Steven tells Jessica. For most of this movie, there's no Jason. By the way, there's a black guy, there's a black coroner, and then there's the cop. And host. Yeah, the talk show host, boyfriend guy.
And then I went home and fucked her daughter.
And then...
You're gonna keep trying. It's never gonna happen. You can't.
Then she kills him.
There is not a single thing that was entertaining about this entire fucking movie.
Besides the one line.
Yeah.
And that one effect that was really good.
Sure.
In the unrated cut.
Right.
We watched the unrated cut. Sullivan, would you recommend Jason Goes to Hell: The Final Friday?
No. I think it's horrible.
Are all not called
Would you recommend Jason Goes to Hell? Would you recommend Jason Goes to Hell: The Final Friday?
No.
Shocking.
Let's go watch Jason X.
We just got back from watching Jason X.
Better than Jason Goes to Hell?
Sure was.
Technically?
I cannot consider this like a Friday the 13th.
It's barely a Friday the 13th.
Much like Part 9. I know I didn't talk too much about Part 9 because I was deeply hurt by the film and I was not in the best mood last night. But this movie is really just, it's mind-boggling how bad it is.
Harder.
Who's been a naughty little boy?
I have. Oh, harder.
This movie had cool kills. Occasionally.
Once.
It's not funny. The movie is not funny
until the last,
and it tries to be very funny.
Like 2 minutes.
Well, the last 2 minutes are when they're trying not to be funny.
Yes.
And then it's fucking hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should say the last few movies have been like gimmicks, and this one's gimmick is it takes place in space.
Mm.
It's kind of like Part 6, where whoever made the movie clearly didn't want to make a Friday the 13th movie.
Right.
They just wanted to make a movie. Part 8 I loved because it feels like a love letter to Friday the 13th that does new things with the franchise, but it still feels very much part of the series. 6 doesn't feel like that. 9 doesn't feel like that. 10 doesn't feel like that. And I think 9 and 10 don't feel like that because they're literally owned by a new studio with a new producer and everything.
This movie also feels not very 80s anymore. This movie feels very early 2000s.
And neither did 9.
Yeah, but that one still had like a little bit.
It was 93, so it was a little bit, but this...
Yeah, I mean, this one just
2002.
is so ugly.
Rusty, you are the man!
Hey, we're gonna see you sometime soon?
I'm on my way.
You know, we split it up in advance, and I know you had watched the movies before, but we split it up in advance. There really were the 3 different eras.
Yeah.
The original 3, which are those core Friday movies.
Your Jarvis
and then 4
collection.
has the Jarvis, which 4 is kind of like part of the original, but it's also it introduces Tommy Jarvis, which is helpful for the next 2. And then you have
Kane
the
Hodder
Kane Hodder era,
collection,
which is just schlock garbage.
Yeah, which is fun
to different degrees.
It's just we didn't know how good we had it.
Like
when we were
I watched myself
about
complain
part
about
4.
Yeah,
it's like, oh god, I would kill to go back to part 4.
Yeah. Would you recommend Jason X?
That's tough. I can't even say it would be like a fun Halloween party one.
No, it would not.
No.
There's no Halloween vibe to it at all.
I can't. I don't think I can recommend it. No. I don't
think so either.
Yeah.
I would say cut it off at part 8, genuinely. Because transition of creative control. Part 8 ends with Jason being incontrovertibly defeated to the point where they just pretended it didn't happen in part 9.
Right.
So like
part 8 is a really good
part
wrap
8 is a
up.
good finale. It has
I think that is why, because I have the 8 disc collection of the first 8, and I think it is like a good ending.
Things will fluctuate, but every single one of those original 8 is interesting and has a character that you like, and Jason in different ways that he does cool different things and has cool, all those movies have cool kills, and just every single one of them will keep you entertained to a degree.
100%.
With the exception of maybe the first one, which is a little boring.
But there are still things to appreciate about
yes.
that movie. Yeah, this one definitely is on the lower part of my list. Speaking of lists, we're going to rank the 10 Friday the 13th movies.
Ain't that the truth?
My number 10 is Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
As is mine.
This movie was a disgrace.
It's terrible.
It was so boring, and...
It's the only one I hate.
Yeah. My number 9 is Jason X.
Same here.
All right.
We literally just reviewed that one, but it's
pure schlock, but not good schlock. It's bad.
It's terrible.
Not fun, not funny, bad.
Not anything.
I keep saying bad, but like that's the perfect word to describe.
At a certain point, we'll start saying good.
Yeah, maybe. My number 8 is part 7.
Ooh, okay. Mine is
New Blood.
Mine is Friday the 13th.
Really?
Part 1.
Part 1. Wow.
I found Friday the 13th boring.
Really?
Boring.
My number 7 is part 5, A New Beginning.
Same here.
Really? Okay. Yeah, pretty middle of the road.
Yeah, I would say bad, but in like an entertaining way still.
My number 6 is part 1.
Okay. Mine is part 7.
Okay. So we had those two kind of reversed there. My number 5 is part 6, Jason Lives.
Same here.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I honestly don't care much for part 6.
It's a fun one though.
Yeah, it's kind of entertaining. I like Tommy Jarvis and the girl.
That's why
their
have
dynamic
it on
is fun.
The whole jail cell stuff with Tommy Jarvis and the girl is really, really fun.
It's not a half bad. If they had gone full on into the action comedy route, I think it would have done better for me.
My number 4 is part 4.
Me too.
All right. Part 4, 2 words. Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover.
That's it.
I was thinking about moving it below part 6 right before we started filming this, and then I was like, Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
One of the best camp counselors in any of these movies, Crispin Glover.
My number 3 is part 3.
Yep.
All right, so we have the same.
I think so. These top 2 were difficult as hell, though, which we talked about.
I did not think they were that.
You didn't think so?
No.
Okay.
Part 3's great.
I mean, really likable cast. Terrible Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Which makes me very sad.
Yes. Worst Kevin
But
Bacon.
it's really well shot.
Sure.
Cool looking Jason. Just a good horror movie.
I agree.
I enjoy it.
My number 2 is Part 8.
Me too.
All right. This one has the whole boat New York thing, which I love, and I think it's a great twist on the series. And I think it was definitely a vital choice that needed to be made in order to keep the oomph of the franchise going, because it was getting so boring with just the same camp. You know, this doesn't feel like a camp. You know, because it isn't.
So inventive and good for the series.
I wish more people liked it.
Yeah. I think it's strange that after so many attempts to end the series, to be the final Friday,
it's strange that this one is the
some random
ending.
Friday is the best one. That leaves number 1.
Our number 1, same pick for us. Friday the 13th Part 2. Epic.
It's amazing.
Great.
It's such a good slasher.
It's a very, very well-made slasher.
Really well shot.
Inventive. It does, like I think I said in our first video, I don't know, it was so long ago, but it takes everything that Friday the 13th did and just does it better.
Mm-hmm.
We have Steve Miner, who really brings that filmmaker quality into it with all the beautiful shots, and you get your characters. I mean, every character is fleshed out. We like everyone.
Best Kevin Bacon, or one of the best? I guess
one of the
Julius
best.
is the best, and the best. One of the best nice guys with the wheelchair kid.
Nice girl.
Nice girl is really nice, and you like her. Good final girl by the end of it. I don't like her the whole time, but by the end she's really nice. And then Paul, who's amazing.
Great.
I love Paul.
And a cool looking Jason.
And the funny guy is great too.
Yes.
Yes, balls. Yes, balls.
Thanks for watching.
Would you recommend the Friday the 13th franchise?
Yeah, sure.
Same.
Do my clip, I squeeze, I squeeze, I squeeze, yeah. Do my clip, I squeeze, I squeeze.